Hello everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Oscar's Teen Years, or The Adventures of Oscar, Eric and Susanne. It's Carrots here, and we're in the boarding school in Moonfall Island, and Eric has the job of trying to upgrade one of the all-in-one bathrooms to self-cleaning. I figure they can break them all they like. It'll help them develop handiness skills, but I don't like it when they start smelling. And they don't seem to actually get any extra skill for cleaning them. Now here the children are home all doing their homework, and Kaylee Flower and Eloise are there having a conversation in the background. Kaylee was just an experiment to see what that fabric that is in her swimsuit that she wears all the time looked like, and I happened to do the experiment in the boarding school. I just left her there. She was really just meant to be a temporary thing, but she can stay in the game. She's actually based on one of my favourite fairies that I made ages ago, and is living in one of the worlds in this game. I've forgotten which one at the moment. There's about 13 worlds I think we got to for Oscar and Eric and Susanne to visit shortly. Wilhelmina Wolff sitting there with the red stripy top, and her little brother Gator with the crown on, and their mother Erica, who is here, will be returning to their home in Moonlight Falls shortly. They are townies that came with Moonlight Falls, and that's where they belong. And their other little sim who'll be going home with them is Gregg. He's sitting there in the blue outfit, the blue pyjamas. And Gregg was born in game to a pair of sims that I made. A very old sim I made way back, probably in about 2009, his father, and then a fairy who I made not long after Supernatural was released. I'm just giving you a quick look around, seeing what's going on at the boarding school at the moment. There's a few of them working on the potions. Most of the children have ended up making all 10 potions before we all send them back to their homes. They get logic skills, so it's useful doing potions. For some unknown reason, most of them have gone down to the very bottom basement. But I got pulled away to the house just down the road where there had been a tragedy. Bonnie, the mother of the Steel children, died. She caught on fire when she was working on the inventing table, and the Grim Reaper came and got her and her family. She has 6 children. Now, as you know, Eric has got lots of relatives. He's going to go around visiting them, and the father of these 6 children, who you can see standing in the background there, he is one of Eric's uncles. So all of these children are Eric's cousins. These are the Steel children, and I'm going to see if one of them will eventually make ambrosia and bring Bonnie back, because Bonnie and Dan are from a very old game I was playing in 2010, and I picked them up with their family, and Dan's parents in that early game were Patience and Christopher Steele, so I just added him to Patience and Christopher's family trees. He became their second son and the 16th of Patience's children in this big game. And we're watching little Gavin Flower chatting with Anne Steele. This is the road between the boarding school and the Steele household, and that's Sim in the background doing push-ups at Gaylord Coffee. Now, when the game had thrown me off to go and see poor Bonnie being burned to death by the inventing table, I had changed households, and by the time I got back to the boarding school household, some of the Sims had gone to the festival and were having an apple bobbing contest. I can see Wilhelmina Wolff there. I'm not sure who else is there from the boarding school, but it's definitely Wilhelmina. I'll tell them all to go home when the contest is over. I've worked out how all 4 of them are now at the apple bobbing. The 2 on this side are Wilhelmina Wolff and her mother Erica, and the other pair are Michelle Martin and Stan Steptoe. They're both Sims that I have made fairly recently. You would have seen Stan Steptoe as one of the sculptors if you've been watching the McFluff story. He was at Gertie's place for a while sculpting. He's here as a sculptor. He's one of 4 Sims in a group who can sculpt every single thing that is available to be sculpted in the Ambitions expansion pack. Back at the boarding school, it is spooky day, and it's night time, and we didn't have any luck with that trick-or-treating, although we did try, and everybody's in costume, or almost everybody. The adults are not in costume, but all of the children and teens are, and they're going to have a party, because tonight is the last night they'll all be together in one place, because tomorrow they start being sent home to their homes in various worlds. Some of them may never see each other again. There's Oscar and Wilhelmina dancing. He still hasn't got to give her a kiss. Poor Oscar. I think he might have forgotten about it by now. He's done up as a rock star. He's going to be a rock star when he grows up. He doesn't know that yet, but he is. When it finally pops up as his potential lifetime wish, I'll snag it. Until that happens, he's got no lifetime wish. This was an autonomous party. I didn't have anything to do with getting it started, but I thought I'd enjoy it while it was going on. But not everybody was here. There was one little girl who decided that she'd rather be out the back fishing. She is in costume. She's got a bunny suit on. I think that might be little Mary Azul. She's going to go home shortly as well. The groups that are going to go home will be the 3 Wolff family members, and Gregg Flower will go to Moonlight Falls with them, and I'll send Eric and Oscar to escort them there, and then they can come back here. And the next group that will go home will be the ones that live with Mia Azul, and that will be Petal, because her mother Sarah Jane is there with Mia Azul, and Mia Azul's 3 adopted children, who are Mary Azul and her imaginary friend made real, Pat, as well as Sandy Seaworth. And I'll send Gary Flower to go and live with George Flower. Now, 3 of these little Sims are clones. Mary Azul is the clone of Mia Azul. Sandy Seaworth is the clone of Salty Seaworth. And Gary Flower is the clone of George Flower. At this point, I don't know which world Salty Seaworth is living in. I didn't think he would fit into this world, that's why he's not here. So I thought I would put him in with Mia Azul. At least there'll be little children there that can play together. And once they all go home to their own homes, then I will get their imaginary friends to be made real. And the imaginary friends, once they're real, will stay there long enough for them to learn the child skills of cooking and blocks. And then I'll leave them there on their own with their new families. We'll probably see them again occasionally. There's little Sandy Seaworth in a cowplant costume. The little one in green with the cap on, that's Mary Azul's imaginary friend made real, Pat. Little Susanne in a tiger costume. Eric's there standing back against the windows with his face all painted in a black t-shirt. And the party went on well into the night. I think we've seen everybody's costume now. Gator's in dark blue with the yellow briefs. Now Erica, she's just come in. Some sort of superhero costume is what Gregg's wearing. And Petal, little red top there. There's a few superheroes. Next morning, bright and early, Erica got up and she organised travel arrangements for the group that are going to go to Moonlight Falls. Oscar and Eric are just going as the travelling Sims, as a pair of them, 2 teens. This will give them good practice for when they start travelling between worlds. with Susanne. And there's the 3 Wolff family members, Erica with her 2 children, Wilhelmina and Gator, and little Gregg Craig. And off they go, travelling now to Moonlight Falls. And here they are now, arrived in the boarding school. This is the original boarding school building from Sunset Valley that I placed into Moonlight Falls. And it's got, of course, an ice cream machine and a deep fryer. Got to get those 2 under control. The first order of business, of course, is going to be making the imaginary friends reel for Gator and Wilhelmina, and also for little Gregg. And then we'll train the imaginary friends, give them at least the basic child skills, and then we will return them to their homes. The imaginary friends will go to live with their owners as part of their owner's household. I'll probably get the owner's parents to adopt the imaginary friends so they're all part of the same family. And there's Gregg having a happy little sing with his imaginary friend, but I think we need more room to turn them real, so we can go upstairs to the nursery. There's plenty of space up there, and there we go. Rags is live now. Next step is to make him real. I wasn't going to do this back in Moonfall Island because there were so many Sims already in that household. I was frightened it might make the game just fall to bits totally, adding an extra one. That's the first step done. It's live now. Now we've just got to make sure that they are really good friends, and then Gregg will be able to offer his imaginary friend a potion. It's a shame that Gregg raced off downstairs while his imaginary friend was becoming live. Now I've got to go find him and get them to go somewhere else so Gregg can give him the potion so that we can see it happen. Such annoying sometimes, Gregg. But I guess you are just a sim. When they were back in Moonfall Island, you saw them with the chemistry tables, and the children, I think all of the children, got to make all 10 of the potions. So he's got that one that he needs in his inventory, ready to hand it over and offer it to his imaginary friend to become real. There's Oscar and Wilhelmina in the background. It looks like he's given up on trying to kiss her, so he's going to insult her instead. Oh, there we go, the potion's been swallowed. Going to have Rags turning into a little boy or a little girl. What's it going to be? And there he is, little Russell, and he's going to go straight into Creator Sim, and then he'll stylist. Uh-oh, just hold on to that thought. It looks like Gator's put his Peanut down out in the backyard, and Peanut is now live. So it's up to Gator now to play with Peanut until he is ready to take the potion from Gator and become real. So Gator and Peanut are now going to chat and play for a while. We don't need to watch the entire process. All we want to see is Gator giving Peanut the potion and having Peanut drink it and become real. I guess you either laugh or punch after someone throws a water balloon in your face. They seem to be getting along quite happily, don't they? Little conversation and a little play. And you know what? It doesn't matter how hard I try to put them into an open space for getting their imaginary friends to be made real. They will always go to a very inconvenient spot and try to hide from the camera to do the process of handing over the potion and drinking it and turning into a real sim. They don't always succeed totally, but sometimes they do. It's Peanut becoming Perry. And we've got one more to go, and there is Wilhelmina with her imaginary friend, Hesper. I think they've been playing for a long time. I've noticed sometimes my imaginary friends stay invisible when they become real. I found the way to fix it is to click onto another sim and then back to the sim who owns the imaginary friend that just became real. This is Perry and Russell doing their blocks. I'll get the 2 little imaginary friends to do their child skills. Oh look, there is Wilhelmina and Hesper sitting together watching TV, and Hesper hasn't been made real yet. I thought I might have missed the process, but I didn't. We'll leave the 2 little boys upstairs doing their blocks, and we'll stay down here because I'm sure that Wilhelmina is about to make Hesper real by giving her the potion. It looks like Hesper is obviously going to be a female because she shows hearts for Eric. I've noticed it's always the opposite gender that they show hearts for. Hesper won't have to do the child skills because she's a teen. She's going to have to try to learn something. And there she is, ready for her visit to Stylist. After her visit to Creator Sim and to Stylist to get ready for her new appearance as a real Sim, Hester became Harriet and she headed off to the library to read a few skill books fast. That's Harriet with her back to us in the red top. There were a few locals in the library. The one sitting there with the maroon pants and lavender or purple top, that's Edith Parker Webb, and her husband is Dave Webb, and you'll be familiar with Dave Webb because I had him in the 30 Grandchildren badge in Cake Island. In that story, he was with Ursula Gammon, and they had a couple of young witch toddlers, because Ursula was a witch. Edith is now pregnant. That's Beatrice Crumplebottom seated with the purple top on, and the ghost is Frida Goth. Both Frida and Beatrice came with Supernatural expansion and were in Moonlight Falls. And the Plumbot you saw is Grace Oxley, and being Grace Oxley, that means that she is owned by a werewolf. We're going to visit her home shortly and collect some toddlers, some werewolf toddlers that are about to age up the child with no skills. So the nursery here in Moonlight Falls boarding school is going to soon have 5 little werewolves in the nursery. I won't take them back to Moonfall Island because that one is too full. It's getting late and I left poor little Russell at the fishing hole for too long, and he almost got home before the police wanted him. And so how he's running as fast as his little legs will carry him away from the boarding school to try to catch up with the police car so he can get arrested and driven home. The Sims really are weird at times. Here he is. He caught up with the police and now he's going to get a ride home in the police car. If the policeman can be found. Oh, there's Frida Goth. She's coming out of the library. I don't know who that other bloke was that was in the library before. And here comes the policeman. That's fortunate. Little Russell will get home eventually, I expect. If he'd only just walked straight home from where he was, he would have been there a long time ago. He had to run back to get into the police car to get driven home. I think he was almost out the front of the boarding school before he got told to go back to the police car and to run through half of the town to find it. Meanwhile, inside it's bedtime, and Gator has successfully negotiated with Oscar for a bedtime story to be read to him, and Oscar is only too happy to oblige. It turned out to be quite a long story, and it went on and on, but Gator enjoyed every minute of it. Eventually the book was finished, and Oscar stood up and gave Gator a quick kiss on the forehead. Good night. And outside the aliens have come. Next morning, Russell and Perry had to do their child cooking skill, and of course everybody in the household was looking for muffins or cookies or something. So we got the usual lineup of Sims waiting for them to finish cooking all of their various baked goods, and Gator was the first one in line. And of course, once they've both completed their blocks and cooking skills, they'll be heading off to their homes with their families. They have both managed to get some fishing skill. I've decided not to get them to read any books. There's no time for that. They've just got to go home and leave us some space in the boarding school for the little toddlers. And Eric's painting again. He's already level 10 at painting. He seems to really love to do that. And this is the Wolff household. I've returned Erica, Wilhelmina, Harriet, Gator and Perry to their home in Moonlight Falls. Erica's husband, Dwayne Wolff, is living here. When I picked them up, Erica was living on her own with Gator and Wilhelmina, which is why I took her to the boarding school. But now when I return her, I see that her husband and eldest son, Waylon, have moved into her house. So she has gone back there and they're all together in one family. And I added a little extension to the basement, as you can see at the bottom there, that extra bit. There's 2 bedrooms and a bathroom and a hallway. The 2 bedrooms with the blue bedspreads are for the boys and the other 2 bedrooms are for the girls, but things didn't work out quite so well, so Harriet is in one of those beds and Waylon, the eldest son, is in the other, because for some reason Wilhelmina has stolen Waylon's bed upstairs. So as I said, they're just Sims. Harriet and Perry are trying to get their homework finished before the school bus arrives. Meanwhile, Erica is cooking some breakfast, and then she comes and eats it, and we'll see a werewolf eating. Oh, it's so elegant. Of course, the children take no notice of the way Erica is eating. After all, they're werewolves themselves, except, of course, for Harriet and Perry. But, well, they live in a werewolf household, so they'll soon learn. And there's the school bus, so everybody's got to race off and go to school now. We'll leave them get off to school, catch the bus, do some learning for the day, and then we'll catch up with them after school when there's homework to be done. Yes, Wilhelmina's in her werewolf form as well. This is after school now and she's doing her homework. That night, Erica came into the boys' bedroom and read a bedtime story to little Perry while Gator snored in the bed beside them. And now we will leave the Wolff family and move on to the next household. We're back at the boarding school. Been having troubles with little Gregg. His parents have vanished, but he did manage to make a long-distance phone call to his father, so hopefully we'll track them down eventually. This werewolf is Phil Oxley at home in his rather crowded garden. Phil is the first werewolf I made once Supernatural was released. I was a little scared of werewolves back then, and I didn't know anything about his default werewolf look. He doesn't look anything like that when he's in his human form. He's married to Glory Flower. Now, Glory was my absolute favourite sim for about a year, quite a few years ago now, and there she is. She's a fairy, and they have 3 little babies who are now toddlers, and I'm going to take those toddlers to the boarding school where they're going to learn all of their toddler skills. At the moment, they're very close to aging up to child, and they've got no skills whatsoever. The toddlers' names are Owen, Oscar, and Olive. Another interesting thing about this household, and we're going to investigate it more later, is this is the household I was playing when I was making skull cut gems on the Carter's display case. We'll have a look at them later, probably in the next episode. And here they are at the boarding school, all 3 of them. Little Olive doesn't have any hair, but the 2 boys have inherited their father's pale orange hair colour when he's not in his werewolf form. This is little Olive playing the xylophone. They're from an old game that happened years ago, and I did not take them into Create a Sim to give them a makeover once they became toddlers. So this is how they just happened. I might take them into Create a Sim or Stylist to give them makeovers when they become children. I've also brought 2 little girls into the boarding school because they're desperate for some skills before they age up to teens. That's Tonya Wolff doing the cooking, and Sophie Rogers is doing her homework. Tonya is the daughter of Pappy Wolff and Dee Dee Wynn. Tonya is a witch, and Pappy Wolff has recently died, and they were mourning his passing, and his tombstone is on their property. Daydream Ivy I found as a teen who had no skills, and she was about to age up to a young adult. So I grabbed her, and she's here helping with the toddlers and learning a few skills. It was about at this point that I realised that after sending Erica home with her children, the oldest Sims in the boarding school were teens. I'd never had a household with teens being in charge. But I got over the shock and continued on, and all seemed to go fairly nicely. Not a lot of catastrophes happened that wouldn't have happened if there'd been an adult around, or young adult even. That is little Owen, who is being taught to walk at the moment by Eric. Daydream Ivy would be the eldest in the boarding school at the moment. And of course, if that's Owen being taught to walk, this must be little Oscar in the blue and striped t-shirt. And Olive is being hidden by the dollhouse. We'll add their little cousins, Wayne and Jane, shortly. Very soon, actually. Later that night, Oscar, that's Big Oscar, our Oscar, got abducted by aliens. Whenever a sim gets abducted, I'm always relieved when it's a female or a teenager. I don't think aliens would actually make a teenager pregnant. The very next day, 2 new toddlers turned up at the boarding school. That is Jane being potty trained, and her older brother, Wayne, is sitting there reading a book. He's got the white t-shirt with the red trims and the red little booties. Owen, Oscar and Olive are now focusing on reading their books, and once they've done that, they will have finished all of their compulsory toddler training. But we might let them do some more because those playpens are still there. Jane and Wayne have both done all of their other toddler skills. Wayne's finished, I think, and Jane is just finishing up learning to walk. And once she's done that, she'll be focusing on reading books as well. So we've almost got all 5 of them fully trained. We'll just swap them in and out of a few playpens to get them some charisma and logic skills. And she's done it. Little Jane has got her walking skill under her belt. Now she can just read the books with her brother and cousins. So our Oscar has turned up to do some babysitting. He's putting them, ones who have finished reading their books, are going into the playpens to play with each other, to make friends, and also to use the playpens themselves to give them charisma and logic skills. Now they can talk. When they play with the mirror, they'll learn charisma, and when they play with the abacus, they'll learn logic. Jane was the last to start learning her toddler skills, and she's the last to finish reading the toddler books. Her big brother Wayne is going into the playpen now. I'll have to return them to their homes shortly. As soon as Jane has finished reading her books, she might miss out on time in the playpen. I've been sending the children and the teens to the local pond, which is not very far from the boarding school, to learn their fishing skill, and that's Zoe Durwood. She's been in the boarding school for a while now and has been learning cooking and fishing. And that would be little Russell and Sophie Rogers. I can't get the children to fish in the wishing well, so I send everybody here to this little pond. It's the night of the prom, but Eric's got visitors. It's Waylon Wolff with his sister Wilhelmina, and Waylon's been wondering about this bloke called Eric. Wilhelmina's been going on and on about him ever since she came home from the boarding school, so Waylon decided he'd better go check him out. They seem to be satisfied because he left them there together alone. A little bit of flirting ensued. Interesting that Eric Scott, the eternally faithful, thought floating above his head. Oh, and he gave her flowers. Oh. Things have moved along. And a shy kiss. Oh, wow. Eric and Wilhelmina, I guess the next step would be to become officially boyfriend and girlfriend. Because at the moment, they're just romantic interests. Have to wait and see what happens. Just as Eric was beginning to pluck up the courage, remember he's a coward, so he had to pluck up the courage to ask Wilhelmina if they could become boyfriend and girlfriend. And just as he was about to do it, the limo's horn beeped and Wilhelmina had to run off because she is going to the prom. It's a shame because Eric has to stay home. That's because I couldn't get him there. So we'll have to wait for another episode to see how this romance develops. Oscar's found the group science project. He's working on his science skill. They get science skill quite fast using that thing, and I'll have to try to make sure that he doesn't get to level 10 in the science skill while he's still at the boarding school, or he won't be able to take his group science project reward home with him, and he can't buy it, so it'll be a bit of a headache getting it into his household if he gets it while he's still at the boarding school. I know there is a keyboard shortcut that will put that science machine plus other items into Bar Debug. I've used it myself when somebody told me about it, but I don't think I've written it down because I can't find it anywhere and I can't remember what it is. So if you know what it is, could you please let me know? I found a mod on Mod The Sims that will unhide it in Bar Debug. Downloaded the mod, but I haven't tried it yet. Somebody has carried this little chap down to this level. It's one level below the toddler level. I believe its name is Owen Oxley, and he has completed all of his toddler skills, and he's read his toddler books, and he's waiting to go home. But he'll be going home in the next episode, because we've run out of time in this episode. Oh, look at that. He's on the attack. And there's a little werewolf. He's doing his werewolf thing. He's tearing that pot of plants apart. I hope somebody comes and rescues them from him shortly. Not sure how much damage one tiny werewolf can do to a pot full of flowers. He's certainly getting right into it. Somebody will come along shortly. Somebody you haven't seen before in this video yet. So I just thought I'd let you know that... Oh, there he is. That's Zach Durwood. His sister is here. Zoe is here as well. They're just trying to pick up a few skills before they age up. They're not going to read books or anything. So if you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed yet and want to see future episodes, well then subscription could be a good idea. But in any case, thank you for watching the video, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye bye for now, and happy simming.